Hi everybody, this is Lori at the Calico Cat Quilt Shop, and today I've got a quick and easy little project. This is one I didn't even realize was a thing until just recently, but apparently spring is time for little stuffed carrots, which I guess spring, Easter bunny, bunnies eat carrots. I guess, I don't know. Anyway, they're super cute, so I'm going to show you quick how to make these. And they're really simple and easy. So here are some samples that we've got that I was just showing you. Probably the easiest way, if you don't have any scraps of orange or green, is to just grab fat quarters and work from there. So any shade or color or type of orange will work, and some greens for the tops of the carrots. What I like to use best is either batik or a solid or something that's almost solid, because there's less difference in the front and the back of the fabric, and so you'll get a carrot top that looks basically the same on both sides instead of being kind of white on one side. This one was actually a green grunge. I can show you the piece here. And so it's green on the back side. So let's get started. I'm gonna do another one with this color, and then we'll do one with a stripe too. So you can use directional prints. You just have to make sure you've cut them the way you want them to be, the finished product. And what I recommend doing, at least for your first couple of them, is to make a nice big carrot. It makes it a little easier to cut and stitch and stuff if the bigger the carrot is. So this one was probably at least 8 inches long. We'll do something like that. The ones I tried to make were a little bit small, so let's use this part. So, and the wider you make your carrots to start with, the easier they will be as well. So let's do an easy number. I'm just going to cut a strip, or cut a rectangle that is 9 inches tall and 10 inches long. If I can get all the way through there. Okay. And I'm working on the wrong side. It doesn't really matter at this point whether I'm on the wrong side or the right side. So just for consistency, I'm going to square this up. And it can be a little rough. It's not going to make that much difference. So if I want to cut, and I can do this 2 ways, but if I want to cut my triangle here and here, that's fine, but I will waste a little bit more. So if I do, let's just say 5 inches, if the top of the carrot's going to be 5 inches wide, I'm going to just mark it, just put a little dot here, that my first one is going to be 5 inches, and if I want the middle to be perfect, then I'm going to mark up 2.5 inches, so half of this measurement on this side. And then I can either draw a line or just cut. From my 2.5 inch measurement to my 5 inch measurement. And then just go from this corner down to the point. to get my carrot shape. Helps if the cutter works good. And then I can either measure out 5 inches here, or I can lay this on top and just cut another one. However I want to get it done. Okay. And I could have made it a little bit wider with how I'd kept my fabric, but it'll be fine. And then we can cut the top now. And I want to say these ones that I did, I think I did, must have been 4 inches wide. So I'm just going to cut a 4-inch strip off of this piece. Maybe we'll go 4.5 just because I'm making this carrot a little bit bigger. Okay, and then since it's a fat quarter, I know it's about 18 inches wide. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this into 3 pieces, make them about 6 inches, because it doesn't have to be exact, but I know that's about what I'm going to want. And then I'll take these over to the iron, and I'm going to spray them with starch or starch alternative and iron them so that they're a little bit stiffer, so they stand up just a little bit better then. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then we'll go over to the machine and stitch these 2 halves together. I went over that cutting pretty quick, so we're going to do this again real quick here. I'm going to do, this one is about almost 10 inches long this way, and we're going to do a stripe, so I'm keeping in mind which direction I want my stripe to go. I'm going to try one each way, and we're going to see how they look. But if I want it to be 5 inches wide, then I put a little mark at 5 inches, and then I know my point down here for both of my sides to be equal is going to be at 2.5. So if I measure up 2.5, put a little mark there, then I know I'm cutting from this corner down to this point, and this point down to this point, and then my next one will be 5 inches this way, so I measure up 5 inches from this dot, put a little dot there, and this will come down to my other side. So let me cut that and show you how that looks. We'll just cut these all right in a row. So this carrot is going to have rings going around it. Get my marks lined up here. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So now I've got this one, and I'll go over to the iron and fold over 1/4 inch and press that. And then if I want to do one so that the stripes go in the length of the carrot, and this will be just about wide enough. So if I go mark about 5 inches, so there's my dot, and then the first one, let's see, how long do I want it to be? We'll make this one 11 inches long, so it'll be a long, thin one. Just going to cut this at 11. Get rid of that. So now I've got my 5 inch mark here, so I'm going to mark up 2.5 inches from this end. And that'll be my cutting line for the first piece. And then if I go another 5 inches, because that's how wide I'm doing at the top, then that'll be my cutting line for the other side. So we can show you this again. Oh, we're going this way. So there's one piece. If you make a nice easy measurement for the long side, the wide part, then dividing it in half and finding where your point needs to go won't be quite as bad. Okay, so we'll press these and go over to the sewing machine. We are at the machine and it's all set up and ready to go. So I'm going to take my 2 pieces of carrot and I'm going to put them right sides together. And because we're going to leave the top open to stuff and put the top on it, the carrot top, all I have to do is get these lined up and then I'm going to stitch one side and back down the other. And I am going to make sure I lock at the beginning and then probably reinforce the point a little bit and then lock at the other end so that it doesn't come apart when I'm trying to turn it and stuff it. And I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. So just locking at the beginning. And then trying to be consistent with my 1/4 inch seam. And these are bias cut, so there is some stretch there. Get this out of the way. So I don't want to pull on that, but I do want to make sure that they're pretty close to even. Keep my 1/4 inch seam, and I want to try and stop a 1/4 inch from this side. And I'm going to go forward and back a couple of times just to make sure I've got a good tight seam that I don't punch through when I try to turn this point. And it doesn't take a lot, but I want to get a little bit in there. And then a 1/4 inch back down the other side, and try and get these fairly even. They don't have to be perfect because we'll be able to fix some of that. When we put the top together. But then I'm going to lock again. And I'm just going to start on the next one. So then I've got these striped ones that I have got pressed already, and we're going to do the same thing. Just stitch down one side and up the other. Get these separated. And I don't have to reinforce a lot, I just want to decrease my chance of punching through that seam. I know I tend to get a little aggressive when I turn. We'll get that locked. And then we've got our lines going the other way on this one. So one more time, just matching them right sides together. Reinforce the bottom. And I didn't get quite to 1/4 inch, but it'll be close enough. Get that nice sharp point. And then lock the end. Call it good. And then I can snip off the end. I don't want to get too close, but I do want to get rid of some of that bulk, because when I turn it, it's going to stuff it with fabric instead of stuffing. So I'm going to trim those points off a little bit, which is where the reinforcement helps. Get rid of some of that bulk. You can probably see it better on this one. So I'm just going to trim a little down the side, across the end, and then back up a little ways. And then we're going to go back to the table and turn them and stuff them. So you can pick your favorite way of turning. However it works for you. I've got a couple of different tools here. I've got a little sewing pliers, and I can kind of grab on and shove that point down, and that'll get me most of the way. And it's a little bit more blunt, so it's not going to push through anything too hard. And then I've also got my little purple tool, so I can maybe get in there and get a little bit tighter. But you will get to a spot where you can't get the point any tighter, any sharper, without actually pushing through the weave of your fabric, and you don't want to do that. So you got to be a little bit gentle with it. And that looks like it's about as good as it's going to go. Okay, so that's what that one looks like. We'll get these other two turned, and then we'll show you how to finish it up. I've got my carrots turned, and I need some thread for hand stitching. So I actually found in my stash some orange, nice bright orange thread. I'm going to use that. Otherwise I would have just used whatever I was using for in the sewing machine. But this will work. And I have got these handy little easy thread needles. So all I need to do is just shove that into the end, and it threads it on the eye. And then what I want to do is start, I'm just going to start at a seam so that I can hide my knot a little easier. And then with my edge folded over, I'm just going to take little stitches, and you can gather this with the machine, but it's not that big, so even I'll do hand stitching for that. I won't do a lot of hand stitching for much, but this I'll do. But it's kind of easier to do it before you stuff it. or at least that's how I found it easier. So I'm just going to take some little stitches, go all the way around, so that I can pull that thread when I get done and gather that top together. And I'm going to go ahead and stuff this one and show you. Got my polyfill here, and you could use batting scraps or whatever you've got handy. But I'm going to take a little bit and get that tip stuffed. Get that worked in there a little bit. Because that's the hardest part to get stuffing in. And if I just stick a wad at the end, it won't work its way down to the bottom very well. And I don't have to stuff these real full. Don't need the seams busting or anything. But just a little bit to make it look nice and kind of plump. And once I get it in there, I can kind of squish it around and work it around till it's the way I want it. This is kind of cute. It's going to be kind of a cute one with the stripes in there. I don't need that much, but so get all my stuffing worked in, and then I'll show you how we're going to do the tops. Okay, so that's probably full enough. Just like you're filling up an ice cream cone, I guess. Then, where did I put my tops? It's amazing how things just disappear. Okay. So I can either fringe this now with a scissors or rotary cutter and ruler if I want to get it perfect, however I want to do it. I could do one of these. I'll just do now. And I don't want to cut all the way through. I'm just going to go, maybe leave an inch or so at the bottom. And I can make these different thicknesses however I want to do it. The rougher you do it, or the more random and scrappy you do it, the more you'll get kind of a fun finished project. It'll be a little bit more, I don't know, what do you call it? Rustic? Scrappy looking. Okay, all the way to the edge. And then I can either roll it, so I can go like, just start at one end, roll across, just keep rolling it up until I get to the end. Do it that way, which I didn't roll it very even, so one end is way in there. As long as I put my stitches through pretty high, I should be fine. And if I go back to this one, if I had done stitching all the way around, I wouldn't necessarily tighten it up a lot, but I could tighten it up a little bit. And then at the end, just run my needle through. And I don't want it way at the end, because then there won't be any stuck in the carrot top to anchor it very well. But I would just stitch through And then come through the far side and put a little stitch in and pull that tight, and then go back through the other way like that to anchor it in. And then if I didn't think that was quite enough, I could go through the other direction too. And that would be my carrot when I pulled everything tight. Or, like I said, I could roll it up like this. And it's kind of easier before you trim it, honestly. Stick it in there like that and then trim. Or I can do, this time I'm going to fold it in half and then accordion fold back and forth like that. And if you're going to wait to cut it till after you've got it installed in the carrot, so then I would just start stitching right about there and leave a good end on it. And if I needed to, a thimble or something to pull my needle through. Okay, and put that in. So like this one, I've already done the stitching all the way around. I accordion folded the top, so now I can start pulling everything tight and finish installing the carrot top. Get this straightened out a little. So I'm going to tighten up the top of the carrot, and you can see how when I pull that, I have a nice clean edge. I don't have the raw edges there. Get that pulled pretty tight. And then I've got my carrot top started here. If I pull the right side. Stick that right in the hole. And then keep pulling everybody tight. Well, doesn't want to cooperate real well. Now I'll see if I can get it pulled tight. There we go. Whoops, I just unthreaded my needle. But it's my easy thread, so there we go. And then I'm gonna pick a spot and anchor that in. So that it doesn't want to fall out like it's doing now. Get her shoved back in there. Pull that through, so I might want to anchor a couple more stitches and then I'll tie the end off. But then what I can do is just clip down however far I want. For my top. Probably easier if I let it rest on the table here. And then it's done. So even if it doesn't necessarily feel like springtime outside with the weather yet, you can at least make up some bunches of carrots and have it feel a little bit like spring inside. So if you've got any questions or comments, ideas, let me know. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.